never mind that. What was that?
Hi!
Who are you?
BARFF!
Not in here, mister. This is a Mercedes.
Nah, that's my name. BARFF!
BARFF? What are you?
And here we go, BARFF Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Brian the Commish. Here we are at No Lineup Needed HQ on the big couch. I'm joined by the best co-host in all of sports, sitting on the end of the couch, co-host of the podcast and owner of Born to Run. Walt's here. Walt, how are you tonight?
I'm good, and maybe you're right. I might start selling a stake in my team if we don't start straightening things out.
We are here at the with the graciousness of No Lineup Needed. Christian's here tonight. Christian, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Welcome to HQ.
Very good, very good. We appreciate you. And also joining us, the owner of Soarin Eagles, Jordan's joining us. Thank you, Jordan. How are you?
Of course, I'm doing great.
All right. Hopefully this sound is coming up. Anyone that wants to give me any feedback on that, let me know. We got microphones everywhere, and they're probably picking up absolutely nothing, but we're trying to make it work. So we have to go back, and we have to talk about BARFF NFL Week 10. Is that the week that we're in?
That is correct.
We're going to review Week 10. We should have blitzed somebody tonight, but Commish failed to get that done. And we're just going to take a look at last week, preview the upcoming week. We're going to take a peek at the standings. We're going to talk about some teams that went from solid position to some slippery ground, and we're going to see how that leads us as we end with, after this week, 3 games left in the season. Walt, let's take a look at last week. I'm going to call it up on my screen. You let me know where you want to start.
Let's start with the team I said might, I predicted they'll make a run for the playoffs. Worst team ever against BTR.
Worst team ever taking on Born to Run. Tell me about your game. This was a Civil War game. Did it go the way you thought it would?
Yeah, it pretty much went the way I thought it would. As soon as I benched Joe Burrow Thursday night, I pretty much figured I was in big trouble, especially since he was getting McCaffrey back. And I mean, he had a really nice week for worst team ever. He actually was confident that he was going to win on Sunday for a change. So that tells you the kind of week I had. So, yeah, I mean, it just Cooper Rush was horrible. He killed CD. My receivers, basically, you all added them up. They were like barely double digits, for God's sake. So it wasn't really that much of a game. And like I said, worst team ever is getting healthy. Look at that lineup. It's looking a lot better.
This was a 139.9 to 84.4 blowout. Worst team ever picks up their 3rd win, still sitting in 10th place, but with some momentum. Kyler Murray is starting to play well, and
yeah, for sure.
This team that was, I would say, moaning about their injury problems is getting healthy right when you want to. It's just a matter, Christian, what do you think? Is this too little, too late for worst team ever to get healthy?
I don't think this league is it's this year specifically, everyone has 3 wins
Yep.
and max 7. So I think everyone's in play right now.
Absolutely.
I think it's looking great. Maybe outside the Kareem Hunt, who could lose some share to Pacheco as the playoffs approach. But outside of that, I think this is looking fantastic for worst team ever. Never thought I'd be saying that.
Jordan, do you agree with this? Are good times ahead for worst team ever?
Maybe the worst times are behind for worst team.
Wow.
ever. I'd still like to see some name change magic, but if the attitude turns around, the season can turn around.
That's true. It's a good way to kick off. If you're not going to say they're in spoiler mode, then they're certainly going to end the season in style if they keep putting up point totals like this, and a convincing victory. Walt, on your end of the ball, moving to 5-5, I think we're going to hold off until we get to the standings point. But this is not the time of year when you want to be putting 84 points on the board.
Yeah, against worst team ever as well. So it was a double whammy. You go in there and you say, I'm playing the last place team in the league. You at least want to hope you make it a game, but that was not the case. But wasn't the worst, I think, blowout games in the league.
No, it certainly wasn't. So where do you want to go now?
Let's go to that one, the spanking that Sody Pantlo's got.
Yeah, this was...
He did a load in his pants because it was, woo, what a stinker.
It was not a good day in Sody Pantload's land. as they face the Soarin Eagles, and they fall 137.3 to 74.2. Jordan, tell us about your game.
I don't know if I've ever had such a complete performance from a team before. I really just had everyone put up teams. Worst was Achan, and I'll still take double digits from anybody. So I'm really happy with it. Got lucky to go against a team that almost didn't even try to beat me. But yeah, I'm happy about my performance, and I think it'll beat a lot of teams that week. So it was just good overall.
Walt Sodi Pantloads was riding that Jaden Daniels magic earlier in the season. Is that magic dried up at this point?
I think he's got, especially after last night, I think he's got to really consider maybe moving to Jordan Love, which I think at the beginning of, during the draft, that was the plan anyway. So I think it might be time to turn back, because if you ask me, a team that's in the nose is pointing down, which for a soon-to-be Navy pilot, that's not a good thing. That's really a recipe for disaster. So I would be concerned if I'm the owner of the Pantloads.
You want to keep that nose up for sure.
Nose up, yeah.
So in addition to Jaden Daniels, there was a bit of a trade this week. Sodi Pantloads got 11.3 points from Najee Harris. And Christian, they're no longer Sodi Pantloads. Can you tell me about the appeal for Najee Harris for you this week?
Bijan's on bye next week, and I need him for 1 week. And I thought my chances of finding a decent wide receiver on the waiver was way better than finding a running back.
True.
So I figured, I gave him JSN. With DK coming back, not going to play him. So it's like,
Yeah.
I needed him for 1 week, like I'm not betting on him for the rest of the season, hopefully.
Yeah.
So that's really the appeal there. And I'm playing him too, so that's going to be a fun one.
That will be fun for sure. So yeah, so that was a trade. Najee Harris going from Sodi Pantloads over to no lineup needed for Jackson Smith Najigba, and this is it appears to be a rental, but we'll see. Anything can happen in BARFF. So
Yeah, that's a good trade for Sodi, I think, especially considering, T. Higgins is going to be playing this week, so he gets in. That's a nice shot in the arm. We'll
Yeah.
see if it matters, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's true. We could see some life preservers going over the side. Where do you want to go now?
Let's talk the Beans back on the winning track and moved first place.
Yeah, the Beans. So we talked about their big Thursday night where they had Jamar Chase go
Yeah.
for season high 57.4 points to stake them to a very nice lead. And they end up taking that all the way to the end, 158.9 to 125.75, beating the Knuckleheads. Christian, what was it? Was it simply a matter of Jamar Chase being too much on Thursday night?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's real tight. Like, you put up a good score that you should be expected to be in the mix. And if Jamar has even a good day, like he hits 24 points, 22 points, you might win. So
Yeah.
the fact that the Ravens played no defense is really what killed you.
Yeah, they did me no favors. Well, when you look at Boston Beans, they were on that long winning streak. They hit a little bit of a stumble, and now they're just putting up points in bunches. This is our number one team, and I believe they're our number one scoring team. Is this team going to ride the wave all the way to the end?
I mean, I like his team. It's a good team. The receivers are excellent. Although again, Thursday, I think he didn't get what he wanted out of Hurts. So, and McLaurin was, I don't even know if he had a point. He didn't have any catches when I was watching. So, but I like his team a lot. I mean, if you got McLaurin, Brown, Chase, that's a pretty nice trio of receivers. And even his bench. I mean, he's got Worthy sitting there. He's got Nick Chubb. Maybe he's going to do something in the next few weeks. So, yeah, I think Tony will be there right at the end.
Jordan, on the other side of the ball, the Knuckleheads really are in no position to not pick up wins. They needed that fifth win. They got 4. Is this a team that's now in spoiler mode?
Not yet. It's
Nope.
same as worst team ever. I don't think we're there yet. Things can change. Someone can go on a big losing streak. Someone can go on a big winning streak. Things are going to shuffle before the end of the year.
Well, let's hope you're right. Let's hope that you're right.
I think your team's on the up and up.
Yeah, I mean,
George Pickens and Cortland Sutton, those are like
That's what I mean. You
actual
get
names.
points out of Cortland Sutton.
Yeah,
First person in the last 5 years to do that.
the last,
Yep.
the last 3 weeks or so, he went over 20 twice.
Yeah.
He got 19. Bo Nix is learning how to use him as a number 1, but it would have been great if he had learned that around week 4. It would have been terrific. But outside of that, Tyrone Tracy Jr. looks like he's going to score some points. But
Definitely.
I'm still, even though he seems to be ranked fairly decently, Brees Hall is positionally ranked 9th, averaging 15. He's just a guy that whole Jets offense is just laying eggs left and right. I just see that situation dragging Brees Hall down. Not playing like a first-round draft pick, in my opinion.
Not what you thought you were going to get after the first couple weeks. I'm like, man, he looks great, and
No.
it's just never panned out.
No, but who has panned out?
That-
has
yeah,
been
we
Joe
should talk
Mixon.
about that. What
So Joe
really
Mixon's
has.
positional rank is 10th, but his average points, 21.5, I believe, are just behind Derrick Henry's average points. Like he was out hurt for a few weeks, and I think that ESPN factors in games that you miss in terms of ranking. But this is a player that if I was making a run, he'd be the horse that I'd be hoping was getting me there. But with 4 wins, with 4 weeks left to go, I just don't see it. But we'll see. Where do you want to go next?
Probably the closest game of the week, right? I think was the Moppers and no lineup.
What a good game this
That was a good game.
No lineup needed, takes on the Whopper Moppers, and they win 129.7 to 116.45. Christian, what was the key to your victory this week?
Bijan and Lamar.
Bijan.
I think Bijan has finally hit what everyone hoped he would be last year. He's getting like 20 plus touches a game at this point, and he's making the most of it.
Yeah.
So I think I was a little concerned with the rest of my lineup last week. A lot of just around 10 or sub 10, but you're going to have bad weeks, and I think I like my team heading into the playoffs. I think we have some good schedules.
Yeah. Bijan Robinson and Lamar Jackson combined for 68 plus points, 69 points this week. That is a great duo. Walt, Whopper Moppers was a team that they were looking for that 6th win. They fall to 5-5, still in the mix. Is this a team that you thought was going to be in the mix at this point in the season?
I did, but now I have concerns because Sam Darnold looks like the guy that I saw in the Jets back then. Those interceptions were brutal watching that game. I don't know. I'm a little worried. Chase Brown, I don't know. Mooney. There's just a lot of guys that I find it hard that I would trust on a week-to-week basis. And, poor DJ Moore, I don't know what's going on there. That guy,
Walking off
an all-pro, and now he's walking. Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's not good. And, yeah, the Moppers, they got Irving on a bye this week. So, I don't know. I'm worried about the Moppers.
Christian, DJ Moore in the Chicago offense, is this probably one of the more disappointing stories this year?
Yeah, I mean, Justin Fields made DJ Moore look good last year.
That's right.
And you add what is supposed to be the best quarterback talent of the draft, and then no one looks good anymore. I don't know if it's the management. I don't think it's the management, but if you have a guy you pay a huge amount and then he just walks off the field, that's pretty bad.
It's not good. It's not a good look, and it's just indicative of what's going on in that locker
Yeah,
room,
and,
I think.
oh yeah, and they fired the offensive coordinator now too.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that's going to help.
Yeah, right, of all the things to do.
Right.
So I want to remind everyone that the chat and the phone lines are open. Sox fan has weighed in with don't count out those pesky pantloads. He's bringing the support for his favorite team in BARFF. We appreciate you, Sox fan, for sure.
You might be their only remaining fan so far.
I think Sox fan has more confidence than the owner.
I agree with that.
We'll see. If the owner wants to weigh in, again, phone lines and chat are open. What does that leave us with?
The Rifle and Huey.
Yeah, it's a great Civil War game, and it was a result that the Rifle must have been quite happy with, a 129.3 to 111.8 victory. Walt, tell us about the Rifle taking out Huey Lewis.
Tell you, the Rifle's getting healthy. You got, and Puka decided to not get kicked out of a game. That's very helpful.
That's nice.
But I'm telling you, the Rifle, I say it all the time. I don't know, maybe every year I just think they're going to make a run. That team is good. I mean, the Rifle has a solid team. So, and what killed Huey is they ride Barkley. They go as Barkley goes.
Yep.
Barkley only had 8.8. To me, that's it. That's what determined the outcome.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about next week, this coming week as we head on. But he made up for lost time heading into NFL Week 11.
And then, he, of course, how enamored he is with Deontay Johnson. He put Calvin Ridley on the bench for him.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, that might have been, would that have been the win for him?
That's, oh yeah.
Oh, I got to do the math.
Oh yeah, yeah. So Calvin Ridley goes 25.4 and Deontay Johnson 1.6. Jordan, is Deontay Johnson going to get balls thrown his way in that offense in Baltimore?
Not necessarily. You know, he might get more than he just did. But I don't think that. I think Deontay Johnson probably somehow had a better situation in Carolina than he does on this Baltimore team. They got Zay Flowers, they got Mark Andrews. They basically got 2 running backs on every play.
Yeah.
Lamar, so.
I'll be more confident. He's not going to do anything.
Yeah, they just-
Mark Andrews is healthy. Now Lamar's looking for Mark Andrews again on top of it. Yeah,
They just don't throw the ball.
Yeah.
You know, like even Zay Flowers is way better than Deontay. Like you have to kind of match up play him. So like he's just a thing they have to win the playoffs.
yeah. Jordan's right. There's too many
mouths.
Too many mouths.
Yeah.
So his situation in Carolina was way better.
I agree. 1.6 is not what you want out of any of your starters, but that's what they got. And so that was BARFF Week 10. And so that's before we talk about next week. Let's take a little peek at the standings. Sox fan, if you can weigh in on what you're hearing, let me know if it sounds good because the headphones are a little scratchy today. So let's look at the standings. Boston Beans is thoroughly in first place.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 in terms of wins. They are just ahead of the second half streaking, no lineup needed in points for. They've got a healthy amount of points against. It just doesn't matter when you're scoring the way that they're scoring. And so Boston Beans are number 1. Pulling in second place, you've got, hold on one
No
second.
lineup, I think.
No, you've got Huey Lewis in the News
Yeah, no lineup has
at
more.
7-3. So they're tied with Boston Beans record-wise.
Right.
Boston Beans just has the points for. Then we've got no lineup needed at 6-4. Born to Run at 5-5. Soarin Eagles at 5-5. Whopper Moppers 5-5. They really wanted that 6th win this week. They got denied. The 4-win team, Springfield Rifle, Knuckleheads, and Sody Pantloads in that order, all at 4-6. And worst team ever at 3-7, but maybe turning it around with 4 weeks left to go. Well, when you look at this standings right now, and I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. In the first part of the season, the back and forth that we saw was Born to Run and Huey Lewis in the News. And after this loss to drop you to 5-5, is there an uh-oh factor in Born to Run land?
Oh yeah, I mean, I could see me losing this week too. I do like my team, and I think I'll be past buys and things like that. So I haven't dared to look at what my remaining schedule looks like because that's always really important when it's all said and done. So I don't mind it, but the thing that just amazes me, look at the points for the highest against the lowest. I mean, it's not even 200 points at this point in the year. That tells you how tight this is.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, no one is out of this.
That's true.
And the part that I laughed when I was looking at these earlier, look at the moves this year. It's outrageous. I've never seen anything like it.
There's a lot, but there's, like, you've got to get a lot. You've got to look at a lot of people to get anything.
Exactly.
Jordan, when was the last time you looked at the waiver wire, and let's take kickers and defenses out of it, that you saw anyone that you were like, I got to go hard?
Well, he did, but
No, I mean recent. I mean over the last,
I see.
the last 3 or
They're
4
both
weeks.
back on the waivers.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I look at waivers every week and I'm picking up guys that I'm like, if someone gets hurt, you know, he can start. If the situation changes a lot, you know, I can fill him in. But nobody's been very exciting. I'd say the last person on waivers to really jump up is maybe Cedric Tillman. What
Right.
ended up with him, just because of that situation. The Browns changed so much. So yeah, there's no automatic, you know, throwing your bomb down kind of guys.
Yeah. To echo that, I picked up Richardson. Just to fill the hole. I'm like, why not?
I saw that.
Right?
Yeah.
It's because that's what we're down to now.
Anthony Richardson gets a pickup on the BARFF waiver wire. Christian, same question. Is it like you just traded Najee? You did the Najee and the Jackson Smith-Njigba trade. Is that simply there's just nothing else? You got to pick from someone else's
Running
roster.
backs, I think, is the thinnest I've ever seen. It's also nice because the top ranked, or most of the top ranked running backs are actually performing.
Yeah.
But like, if you try picking someone up, maybe outside of Estime, like you're actually getting either a second back who might get you 5 points or like a touchdown. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm spending more, I think, on my defense pickups that I think will be good for the playoffs than I did on players that I wanted to pick up. So it's like last year was the year of the waiver wire. Like the early waiver wire, those teams almost won championships.
Yep.
Now it's like the waiver wire is picked clean.
Let's look at this week's waiver wire, and this is all available players, and we're going to go by their projections. I don't know how I've got this set right now. But you've got your normal suspects, the quarterbacks, with Drake May leading the charge over Aaron Rodgers. It gets you all the way down into Mac Jones and Gardner Minshew. And then your top-ranked position player in terms of projection, the guy that they think is going to go for something, is a 10.9 Romeo Doubs, and Christian Watson right behind him, both with 10 points. Gabe Davis from Jacksonville, and that's all you're getting in double digits for position players right now.
And those are receivers.
Those are receivers.
Like 10 points out of a receiver.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's just
To find
just
a running
incredible.
back on this list that
Good luck.
ESPN projections have anywhere, I'm into kickers, and I don't see a running back yet.
yeah.
They're horrible.
It's tight ends, more kickers. Just about all the kickers. Tajay Spears from Tennessee is projected to go 7.8 if anyone wants a waiver wire running back this week. So not terrific at all in terms of what's out there. And so with 4 weeks left, everyone is still mathematically in it if we're looking at the stick being 7 games. I'm not so sure. Walt, what do you think? Is 7 games going to be the thing this year?
I would
7 wins, I mean.
Yeah, no, this could be the year where 6 with a high point total might have a shot.
Yeah.
I could see it, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know that that's happened very often since we went to the 16 playoff.
Yeah.
But I agree, 6 wins with all these teams bunched up down the bottom. That could be a thing for sure.
It's going to be fun. It really is. It's going to be a nail biter to get in to the playoffs.
It sure could be. So let's take a look at next week's games. This is Friday, so we've already had Thursday, which made a lot of people happy, much like the Beans were happy last Thursday. Walt, when you look at the slate of games, which game intrigues you the most? Where do you want to start?
I am very intrigued by no lineup and Soaring Eagles, especially since they're both here. But to me, that's one of the more intriguing matchups of the week, I feel.
I agree. So, gentlemen, right now, as we look at the projections and games have started, so they're a little bit different than they were the other night. So, no lineup at 6-4 in third place is right now projected to go 136. Soarin Eagles, right behind them at 5-5, is currently pulling in fifth place, projected to go 126. So right now a 10-point swing. No one has scored any points yet. Christian, you are our gracious studio provider this week. I'm going to start with you. How do you see this game going?
I'm very confident in my team. The only way I lose is if Jay Reed puts up 40 points against me, which is going to trend with players I trade away against me. But the only matchup I'm kind of scared about is Pittsburgh and Baltimore because AFC North games
Right.
are just like bloodbaths. No matter how good each team is, like they'll get 6 points and win.
Yeah.
So that's like the one game I'm kind of nervous about, and obviously I'll have Najee and Lamar. So
Right.
I'd say that's like more what I'm focused on. I think the rest of my team, I'm fairly confident.
All right, Jordan, how are you feeling this week?
It's going to come down to what happens to my players in the bad matchups, I think. I got Drake London going up against Denver.
Oh, yeah,
I don't know if he's going to
that's
get
tough.
Sertan all game.
You should.
I was thinking about benching him, but I think I'm going to leave him in there. I got Jaden Reed against Chicago, who's going to be a tough matchup. They've been good against slot receivers. Again, I hope the revenge game just,
That's
hoping for
it
some,
always plays out that way, right?
some divine magic to come down. but also, could be a Kyron Williams revenge game against me as well. So, if those guys can pull out double digits, I think my team's looking good because I have some really good matchups in other positions, like Echan against Las Vegas or Montgomery against Jacksonville. It's just up to the guys who got to fight for it.
Well, Bo Nix has a 20.3 projection this week. What do you think about that?
I agree with it. Atlanta's got a lot of guys out. Bo Nix is definitely playing a lot better, so I can see it. I definitely can see that. And then I'm with Jordan. I think those three matchups he mentioned, and I think Montgomery's under projected here at 16. I see that a 2-touchdown game at least for him. I think he's going to be 20-something. So I do like the Eagles this week, just because of that tough AFC North matchup. I think it'll be close to the best. It's in Pittsburgh too, I think. Is that true?
Oh yeah, it's at the truth.
Yeah, so I don't know. Let's see. I think so. I like the Eagles.
All right.
But my one saving grace is even games that Baltimore has lost, Lamar has still been incredibly productive. They're losing on the defensive side of the ball, so I'm hoping it's like a shootout, which doesn't always occur in the AFC. Like that's the one thing I'm sort of praying for.
Sure.
And that's possible. The Ravens' pass defense is horrible.
No, it's horrendous. That's why I think like Pickens and Russell Wilson this week are like Pickens is a great play. I think he'll eat.
Well, unless he like shoots somebody in the stadium or something like that. Dude. He's he's.
It would be a setup.
Yeah.
All right. Well, where do you want to go?
Well,
next?
the other intriguing game, the battle for first place, Huey and the Beans.
Huey and the Beans.
And we got some big scores already.
Already big scores. Huey Lewis in the news taking on Boston Beans. Boston Beans, our first place team, projected to go 127.6. Huey Lewis is our second place team, but they are projected to go 154 on the strength of Thursday night's game where Saquon Barkley put up 34.8 points, a dominating performance. And in as a backup, Austin Eckler getting the start goes 17.6 to stake Huey to a 52-point Thursday night. Boston Beans were no slouches on Thursday night. Jalen Hurts went over 20.95. A.J. Brown put up double digits, not what you expect, but 11.5. So not dead in the water, but, well, how do you see this one going?
Game over.
It's over. It's already over.
Huey's won. You cannot have A.J. Brown 11.5, Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson healthy and playing, ballsy move by Huey.
That was a ballsy move.
And he outscores AJ and Jalen. He did get 20, but Jamar against the Chargers, very difficult matchup. I don't love the matchups. Ingram against Detroit, ouch. Nick Chubb, I don't know, 14 points they're projected. I don't know if I'm buying that either. So I just as much as I'm intrigued, I just see Huey, based on what he did Thursday, is going to be an easy victory.
I can't believe Eckler had 17 points on 7 rushing yards. All of it's there.
It's all
that
there.
was insane.
Yeah.
That was like,
Yep.
It's
Because Brian Robinson did play and he played well.
and I didn't start him and he scored.
Yes.
Yes,
that's right. That's right. You did not start him
Yeah,
because
against the number one rush defense.
Exactly right.
Who knows how that would turn out?
What are you going to do with
Right,
that? Yeah.
right, exactly. I don't beat myself up for that one.
So these are two teams that are jockeying for that. Make sure they get that bye heading into the end of the season, and this will be a good one this week. Boston Beans taking on Huey Lewis. Where do you want to go next?
So another intriguing game. The team I'd say is moving up against the team I said was kind of going down. The Moppers and a Rifle. Really interesting game as well.
The Springfield Rifle projected to go 130, squeaking out a victory against Whopper Moppers projected to go 129. So if ESPN projections mean anything, and we've discussed on the show how they may not, this should be an exciting game. This is, we've been saying it the last couple of weeks, but boy, sure feels like a must-win for these teams, especially the Rifle. Jordan, Whopper Moppers, and Springfield Rifle, 6th and 7th place team. Who you got?
I think I got the Rifle. I think they're on the up. I think there's some tough matchups on Whopper Mopper side. Gibbs is going to have a good game. Saw that stat, Montgomery and Gibbs have the same amount of carries. So anything to say about Montgomery for this game against Jacksonville, the same for Gibbs. But then, you got Brown versus the Chargers, even, Hunter Henry versus the Rams, and then Mooney. I'm hearing that, Drake London lines up in the slot a lot. Mooney might be the guy that's getting targeted by
Oh, that's a good point.
So,
Yep.
there could be some, and you got to say Flowers versus Pittsburgh in that game that we were talking about. So I think Whopper Moppers don't have an easy path to victory here, and just where their team's been going, momentum's on the rifle side.
All right. Walt, what do you think? Springfield Rifle against Whopper Moppers?
I'm all with the rifle. I look at it again. I don't know where these projections come from sometimes. I just really find it hard to believe that Mooney's going to have 14 against Denver. I don't see it. Even Jefferson, 18 against Tennessee.
Right.
Tennessee's tough on D. And then the one that makes me laugh the most is 16 out of Chase Brown. I don't know where that comes from. I really don't.
I agree.
But Jordan's right. Gibbs, who knows? Gibbs could be the 2-touchdown guy, and one of those could be a 70-yarder. So I think that's what the Moppers, Gibbs is going to blow up and have a big game for him to be competitive in my mind.
I think this game is the most over-projected game of
Yeah,
the week.
I agree.
Because on the rifle side, he's dependent on that Kansas City Buffalo game. And that's a game of defenses this year, unlike previous
Right.
versions.
Yep.
So, I think that he might not even get 40 points out of those three players if it's really like a 17-17 or something like that. So I think this is just an over-projected game all around. I don't know where I sit, but it's just I just don't think the Buffalo Bills KC game is going to be the 41-30 whatever we've seen in the past.
I agree.
That's a great point, because I look at the 16 for Dobbins with Gus the Bus back now in the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's overprojected as well. So great point, Christian.
Yep, I agree. Two teams that really need a win. Springfield Rifles still in it with 4 wins, and they're looking to go 5-6. Whopper Moppers, if they lose this one, that's at least 2 in a row to go to 5-6. That's not the streak that you want to be starting. So we'll see who comes out of it with a win this week in a stronger playoff position. Where do you want to go now?
Well, the game that's going to provide us the most entertainment, I'm sure, in the chat, the Pantloads and worst team ever.
Worst team ever taking on Sody Pantloads. Always fun. Worst team ever currently pulling in at 10th place at 3-7. Won last week and scored well. They're projected to go 126. Okay, taking on Sody Pantloads. Sody Pantloads is only one spot ahead of them, 4-6, 9th place. A little bit of a power outage lately, and they're only projected for 114. Walt, where do you see this one going?
The only 15 points out of Jaden Daniels, not great. I don't know what Tyler's thinking throwing Sam Darnold in that lineup. I just don't get that. Just like last year, if you have Christian McCaffrey in the lineup, I don't care who the surrounding cast is, you have a chance. And getting DK back, love that. Hunt, though, again, Pacheco, I don't know if he's going to be at a pitch count or not because of that. Hunt will probably still get his carries. And then on the flip side, Tyreek, I don't know, it's just weird. Dolphins looked a lot better, but Tyreek still didn't do a ton. Vegas is a great matchup.
He was quoted this week as saying that surgery has been brought up.
Yeah.
So this is a player that's clearly not 100%. Hasn't played like a player at 100% all year long, and now, as banged up as he is, it could be worse.
I'd say if McCaffrey gets in the 20s, I think, and he replaces Sam Darnold at QB, I think worst team ever can. I mean, I didn't look. There's got to be something better than Sam Darnold. Tell me.
Kirk Cousins is available?
There has to be.
I picked up Bo Nix after waivers were cleared.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Christian, who you got this week? Worst team ever taken on the
I got to
Pantloads?
stay with worst team ever. The matchups are tough on Sody's side. Again, 2 players in the Pittsburgh game. Tyreek, though, I think though he's injured, against Las Vegas, you could have one leg and get 30 points. So I do like Tyler's lineup this week, though. And plus, Pacheco's not back this week. He's out.
Oh.
So Kareem,
He is out?
Yeah, he's out.
Oh, okay.
So Kareem is getting all
So
the
that's
carries.
huge for him. Yeah, definitely.
Jordan,
Yes.
Sody Pantloads had a power outage last week. I believe that was the low score of the week. They didn't have Josh Jacobs in. He's available now. They had a little bye week hiccup. But Jaden Daniels, we talked about how the thrill may be gone with
Yep.
Jaden Daniels, and he puts up 15 points. Does Sody have enough to put up enough points to take out worst team ever this week?
He does have enough. Like, if you look at that lineup, like, those are names that can put up points. It's just, they either have a tough matchup, or in the case of Tyreek Hill, what do you bring up surgery when you're just not getting the ball from? Like, you're not dropping balls because of the wrist. Like, it's not a leg injury. You're not having trouble making separation. There's just an attitude issue there. So I don't know. It can underperform. It can overperform.
Right.
Didn't know that Isaiah Pacheco was potential to come back, but he didn't drop them.
Yeah, but I just think no doubt in my mind. Like, I just think that both players, him and Kareem Hunt, are just kind of hamstrung later in the season because It's not like they're getting McCaffrey back, right? Like, the Chiefs are going to run on both, and so like now you have two unusable players during the playoffs because Pacheco's going to come back in some amount of weeks. So I just think that's like a bad news for both teams here.
Right.
Later in the season.
Yeah, that's a great point. Right now, Sody Pantlows jumped out to that 15-5 lead. We'll see if they can hold on to it heading through that. That will be entertaining to watch for sure. And they're both in must-win territory right now. Where are we going next, Walt?
I think it's you and I is the last game on the docket.
Another fun game. Knuckleheads taking on Born to Run. Born to Run, our fourth place team at 5-5, projected to go 109.6 here on Friday. Knuckleheads at 4-6, down in 8th place, projected to go 126. So good projection, but the reality of the situation is that may not happen. Walt, I think Joe Burrow's 22.1 is maybe a little low. How do you see this going, and do you agree with that?
Well, unless he decides to punish me for benching him last week. No, I think, Burrow looks great now. He really does. I assume he's still the number one. No, he went to 3 now. But, I mean, amazing what he's moved up to. So Burrow's hot. Mahomes, I think he's a little dinged up. It'll be interesting to see what he does. It's funny, during the regular season against Buffalo, he's not good.
1-3.
Yeah, but postseason, different story. So that's I find that interesting. I hate Mixon against my Dallas Cowboys. That is so. If you want to talk, there's 2 matchups you that scare the hell out of me: Mixon and Pickens. Yeah. Because the Ravens, I just don't. They look like it's flag football out there in the secondary. Yeah. So. I just can see Russ scrambling, him, running across, and he hits him, and then he just turns it up for a long TD. So if I get through those 2 without, some serious damage, I think it's going to be a really close game.
Yeah. Kamish, may I ask, would you put Russell Wilson in over Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, Mahomes is in now. I'm not sure I'm sold on that because the Buffalo D tends to be a little bit tough. I think that Russ has the better matchup. The matchup I'm definitely staying away from was Geno Smith, but I was back and forth with
definitely.
Patrick Mahomes and Russ. So we'll see how it goes.
I will say that would be a bold move, sir.
I respect it.
I will too, because to trust Russ.
It's tough.
Yeah,
but
that's a tough one.
That offense has been clicking.
Yeah, he's
and
looked all right.
Keep it going.
Yeah, and so teams are averaging 40 attempts per game against the Ravens.
Oh, Pickens is gonna.
Wow.
Is that unbelievable?
That's a crazy
not that I'm
stat.
trying to talk into it, but it's hard to deny that
crazy
stat. Yeah.
On your side, Walt, I also just think you have really tough matchups down the board.
CD.
Walker versus San Fran. CD, but the thing is CD. The Texans defense is pretty decent. 5 picks on Jared Goff, and you're throwing Cooper Rush into the grinder this week?
No doubt. Walker against Frisco, don't love that.
Even Miami's defense looks good. And Brock Powers is the only option.
Yeah.
So,
but I got Nico against Dallas.
That's a scary
that's a good matchup there. So, I don't love my chances one more week. It's going to be close unless, like I said, Pickens and Mixon are 25 each. Then I don't think it'll be so close.
All right. What does that?
That's it.
That's it. That's the whole week
We
preview.
did. Yep.
And yeah, so good luck to everybody. But boy, this is when you look at these teams. So Knuckleheads and Born to Run. Right now, we could both be 5 and 6.
Moppers and
Yep.
Rifle,
Hoppers
5 and
Rifle,
6.
5 and 6. These games have a lot of meaning this
Yeah.
week.
I mean, let's see. Worst team ever beats Sodi. So,
Right?
Well, they're going for the same
4
record,
and
too.
7,
Yeah,
so-
4 and
7.
7.
and then only one game behind the 5 and 6 team. So
Yeah, and I love
we could see a huge logjam.
top 2 teams playing each other, so
Yeah.
my chance to move into that mix
Yeah.
there.
That
and so,
could work out very well for you.
Yeah, I'm very much so. And I'm going to bring up a point before we close this out, and I'm going to thank Connor for drafting Saquon Barkley where he did. Because I think it saved the league a runaway winner with like Jamar or Jefferson plus
Yep,
Saquon.
very true.
That's
Yep.
and that's a game-changing lineup. And so, Huey, Connor, you
Oh, yeah.
really you made a ballsy play, and you saved all of our asses because of it.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, if I had Barkley with my receivers
That's
like
what I'm
that,
saying.
I'd be like living
Yes.
large right now.
You're guaranteed, like, or Jamar at this point, like,
Yep.
Tony would have like guaranteed 20 points from
Oh.
2 players. In his
No, Tony
lineup.
would screw it up.
I mean,
He would have traded Barkley when he got the 8 points.
yeah. But it's like, I think that would have been a game-changing scenario.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
So that's a couple of weeks ago. We did a bit, and we said we were going to do it every week, and we haven't. And that was, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong. We were looking at teams, and it was basically, was it what player would you take from that team, or did we revert to what player would you never take from the team? Does anyone remember what that?
No,
was?
I don't know. I thought I would have said would take, but I don't know. Maybe it was don't take.
I like don't kick.
I like
right.
don't take. Really,
Yeah.
really hate on the teams. I like that energy.
Okay, worst team ever.
Yeah, worst team ever. Let's
All
look
right,
at their
let's,
team.
That's
let's
easy
take a
right
look.
now.
Hold on, let's get a team's roster up. Let me just get my screen going here. We're gonna look at worst team ever, and we're gonna put them on the big screen, and we're gonna see what player is on that roster that there is no way in hell they would ever make their way.
Let's take Darnold out then.
I think they're
Right, because
I
he's
think-
a rent a quarterback.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
All right, so we got worst team ever's lineup. The untouchable Sam Darnold, Christian McCaffrey, Ramondre Stevenson, Devontae Adams, DK Metcalf, Taysom Hill, Kareem Hunt, the Eagles D, and Chris Boswell in their starting lineup. And then on the bottom, you've got Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray on the bye this week, Jordan Mason, Jamison Williams, Tucker Kraft, Jordan Addison, or Caleb Williams. I know my vote. Walt, I'll start with you. Who on this lineup would you never want on your team?
So this is going to be a surprise. Devontae Adams.
I was going to say the same thing.
Aaron Rodgers sucks. Adams is lost,
Yep.
and he's questionable. There's a guy, no way, because you just always think, oh, he's got the potential, and he gets in your head that you may start him, and all it'll do is going to screw you. So that's the guy I don't
Christian, is
take.
this a guy that if you have him on your roster, you're afraid to not start him? He's
Yeah.
Devontae
Well,
Adams.
Yeah, and like last week he got 13 targets.
Yeah.
But
No
some of them they were
production.
not in sync. They were thrown. He wasn't looking. He wasn't paying attention.
Yep.
And plus, like, I don't know. I own Garrett Wilson, but Garrett Wilson is efficient with the targets he gets, and he looks like a deep ball threat, which Adams just does not look like he is anymore.
Yeah.
And so I think when push comes to shove, I just don't want Adams there. I think he's a trap player.
All right, Jordan, who do you think?
I'm going to have sort of a long answer, but
Great.
the answer is Taysom Hill. For the past 5 years of fantasy football, if you're putting Taysom Hill in your lineup, you're just hoping something weird happens. You're hoping they start running Wildcat.
Right.
Like, it's a shot in the dark. And you look at the bench, and Sam Laporta's underperformed, and he's hurt. Tucker Kraft has been doing good, but there's no pedigree there. And, you don't know what's going on with that receiving core in Green Bay. So you just know every week that worst team ever is looking at his tight end position and hoping for 8. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Just to fill in some points, and that's not a spot you like to be in.
Yeah, I agree. Taysom Hill, people are still in love with the idea that he might get a quarterback snap and do something
Yeah,
quarterbacky
right. Yep.
in the tight end position. and that's just not a thing. He's more likely to play fullback than he is these days
He's
quarterback.
like one of those great football players and horrible fantasy players. Like, he's like,
Exactly.
like an
Yes.
actually
Yep.
wonderful
Yes.
football player.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree. Christian, are you a Devontae Adams answer on this? Or
I'll go a different one. I think Jordan Addison is horrendous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, T.J. Hawkinson comes back and immediately has more target share.
Coaches,
by-
yep.
And like T.J., like even I think he outperformed Jefferson last year. So like T.J. Hawkinson owns one part of the field and is a red zone threat. Jefferson's always a threat, and then Addison again another player like Tank Dell who kind of looked great last year, and then just kind of fell off. And so, I mean, I didn't want to say Caleb Williams because like same thing with Donald. He's just a kind of mediocre middle quarterback.
Yeah.
So I think Jordan Addison, for me, is not even a rosterable wide receiver.
64th ranked BARFF wide receiver, should not be on your roster. Yep, and I'm a Caleb Williams, 0 for me. When you're a quarterback and you're averaging 15 points, I don't want you on my roster.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of quarterbacks. Like, I'll pick up quarterbacks, but not Caleb Williams.
You have some vintage ones too.
I do. I have some old quarterbacks. There is no doubt. I do. That is true. Let's pick. Let's just move our way up from the top, up from down
The bottom
10th spot. So let's go. Let me get on to Sody Pant Loads, and let's take a look at this lineup. This has been an underperforming group. They had the lowest score of the week last week. They were in the 70s, 74.2. Christian, I'll start with you. They've got their starting lineup is Jaden Daniels, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Tyreek Hill, Cedric Tillman, Mark Andrews, T. Higgins, the Lions D, and Tyler Bass. On their bench, Dalton Kincaid, Jordan Love, Najee Harris, Brian Thomas Jr., Juju Smith-Schuster, Rome Odunze, and Ricky Pearsall with Isaiah Pacheco on IR. Who does not make it onto your roster any day?
So, I think I have two. Rome Odunze, I drafted him, but I just think the quarterback situation's so bad. The dude can have as much talent as he wants, but when you're also competing with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, you're throwing 190 yards a game. It's just like, when would you? He might get 20 points one week, but it's like, do you ever trust him enough to put him in the lineup?
Yep.
So it's him, and then I think Brian Thomas Jr. is the same thing if Trevor Lawrence doesn't play.
Yep.
So
all right.
there's rookies there.
Absolutely. Walt, who doesn't make it on your lineup in this?
Well, the good news for him, he traded the guy with a pick, which is Najee.
Wow, I
Because
can't believe you'd say such a thing.
But I'm going to go, it's a Devontae Adams type thing here, too. I look at T. Higgins, and it's just another guy you can never trust.
Yep.
Gets hurt all the time, but yet, he dangles that carrot in front of you because it's T. Higgins, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
And you try to put him in, and then you can't trust him. So T. Higgins, again, I hate guys like that.
I think like T. Higgins, the sad part is like when he's on the field, he actually does perform. Unlike Devontae Adams, he has had big games this year. But the thing is the dude's out with a hamstring injury like every week or every 2 weeks, and it's like you draft him 5th round, and now you're getting 5 weeks out of him a year.
Right.
It's like that's like the sad part about it is and like I don't know, Jamar Chase is the dog in that
Yep.
attack or like that passing game.
Jordan, who on this roster does not make it anywhere near your roster?
T. Higgins for me too. I mean, I just think if there's a guy who has the most bench points of all time, it's probably
Yep.
T. Higgins because
Yep.
you'll never start him when he's going to blow up. But when you do start him, he's going to be the worst.
All right, I'm going to go with Juju Smith-Schuster, the 107th ranked wide receiver in BARFF Fantasy Football, averaging a robust 5.1 points out of the wide receiver position. Should not be on a roster and would not be
He's
on.
projected for 3.5.
He's got a whopping 3.5 progeny, so they're expecting him to have an off week.
That's just forgetting to take out the trash. Leaving him in the roster.
Yeah, him or Deontay Johnson.
I gotta agree. He just
That's right.
Yeah.
We had a couple of 10-point projected wide receivers on the trash waiver wire that we just saw that you could have in there instead of Juju Smith-Schuster.
maybe the Pantlows thought there was a practice squad, so he put him on that. Didn't realize that.
Yes. I think there's just too many distractions down in Florida. So let's see. Let's move on to the Knuckleheads roster. Walt, I'll start with you. Let's get that on the screen. The starters so far this week: Patrick Mahomes, Breece Hall, Joe Mixon, George Pickens, Cortland Sutton, Dallas Goedert, Jacoby Myers, the Packers D, and Jake Bates. On the bench, Devin Singletary, Wandale Robinson, and Tyrone Tracy, because why wouldn't you have the entire Giants offense on your roster? K. Otten, Geno Smith, and Russell Wilson, with Mike Evans on the IR. Who does not make your roster?
I mean, anybody that has the New York Football Giants. But, I mean, Tracy, though, I must say, even early on in the season, he looks good. So I would not be unhappy with Tracy. But it's down to Robinson or Singletary. I guess if you like Tracy, you got to say Singletary's the odd man out. He's got to go.
Yep. Can't argue with that. Jordan, who doesn't make your roster?
Yeah, I was gonna say Singletary too. You got Tracy. Maybe he'll get hurt. Is Singletary gonna put up more numbers than somebody else you're gonna start at that time? Probably not.
Probably not. Christian?
So I'm going to go with a hot take here. Off a bye, if we're taking all these players, and I don't think maybe I could take Jacoby Myers, but I'm saying for where he was drafted, Breece Hall. I think that you could never drop him because he has the talent, but like he's one of those guys. Another trap player is like, oh, he's going to have 17 projected and go 10.
Yes.
Because the Jets are dysfunctional, or the Jets are going to have to pass because they're behind, and he won't. Now that you have Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson, you're not doing a check down.
Right.
And so I think that Breece is just tough because he's so good, but like you can't trust him any week.
Yeah, I'm living that hell right now. Yep.
Yeah, I feel bad.
I don't know how he's averaging 15.4 because it always seems like he's projected for 18 and he's going 11. You know, it's troublesome, but you can't stop. Is that power strip plugged in?
It should be.
It's got 20% left.
So we have an abrupt ending.
And when the laptop dies, the show is over.
Yep.
So while we fix that, we're going to
It's one way or the other.
up on the screen. And let's see, we're going to go from the knuckleheads, put the knuckleheads out of their misery. I'm going to go Singletary also on my own roster. Tyrone Tracy Jr. has been a good story for a team that needs a good story, and that makes Devin Singletary expendable. And just like Juju, there just needs some trash to be taken out for that. Hold on.
Looks like it's getting.
Get my cursor. Nope. Oh, wait.
In.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
plugged
we're
in.
good.
Yep, good. Thank you. All right, sorry for that technical issue, people. Let's get back to... Yeah, that's okay. Sorry about that.
The fireside chat.
That's right. That's right. When we come back, you guys will see a little bit of a dimmer view, but it was either that or an abrupt end of the show. So the Springfield Rifles roster. Christian, we'll start with you. Josh Allen, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Puka Nakua, DeAndre Hopkins, George Kittle, J.K. Dobbins, the Dolphins D, and Blake Grupe are their starters. On the bench, they've got Keenan Allen, Tony Pollard, Tyler Lockett, the Bills D, Juwan Jennings, Zach Ertz, and Matthew Stafford, with Rashid Shaheed and Austin Siebert on their IR. Who doesn't make your roster?
Keenan Allen. I think his starting lineup is maybe J.K. Dobbins is not going to be it going forward, but he had Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
His starting lineup is real solid.
It is.
And so I just think that Keenan Allen, again, they don't throw a lot, or they don't have a lot of successful pass attempts. And he's also like the three. Like, he's 32 years old.
Right.
You got a young rookie who's probably going to be the long-term future, and you have DJ Moore who's not enthused, but he's better than Keenan Allen.
Truth.
So I just think that it's an easy Keenan Allen for me.
Jordan?
Yeah, I was gonna pick Allen, but I'll switch to Lockett.
Same story.
He's a guy with the emergence of Jackson Smith and J-Bud. His best weeks are getting to 13 nowadays. Man, look at this rifle lineup. When you're putting Tony Pollard, 20th ranked running back in the league on your bench, like that's a good.
It's not too shabby.
I love Juwan Jennings for the rest of the year. Without Frank Ayuk, they're writing plays up for him. He has that 47 and 40-point week. I think he might have the deepest lineup in the league with two players on the bench.
Right, that's crazy.
Ertz on the bench too.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy. Walt, who doesn't make it?
I mean, it's easy. It's Keenan Allen. He's gone to wide receiver hell.
Yep.
And even against Lockett, Allen's 74, 8.9 points.
Right.
Against 39 for Lockett. It's not even close.
What's wild too is Keenan Allen was like one of those guys last year that was like, oh, he's too old. And I think the rifle even had last year, and he was putting up
Yeah.
like top 10 numbers for most of the season there. And then you ship him off to Chicago where everyone goes to die, and he's like, oh, I can barely get a play.
Right.
So,
Yeah, look at that. Look at that ambiance. I like it.
That's beautiful.
I like it. Yeah, we had to sacrifice lighting for
I'm
that.
20 years younger now with that lighting out there.
All right, we're going to go to Whopper Moppers now. And Walt, we're going to start with you in the Whopper Moppers lineup. I'm not going to bother blasting it down anymore because people are seeing it on the screen. Who, either in the starting lineup or on this bench, doesn't make your roster?
I mean, I can't start DJ Moore, and ETN's pretty close. I'm waffling between the two. Oh man, Jacksonville's so bad. Now I gotta stick with it. DJ Moore again, wide receiver L. It's a shame he's quit on his team on top of it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to quit her.
That's such a bad story. Jordan, who gets axed?
ETN, that situation just sucks this year. I have in another league, I have ETN and Bixby on the team, and every week they're both projected for like 9.5.
and they're both injured all the time.
They both hurt all the time.
It's
Teams
you
don't keep the ball.
just can't even trust it.
Yep. So Christian, who gets your call this
Oh, I'll
week?
go different. I'll go Madison. He just has those three guys are just all just untrustable. And Madison is not even as bad as Zamir White was, the guy who was starting as the running back in Las Vegas. But it's just like, that 10, I feel like all those guys' projections, you're like, I hope it makes it to that number. Type of deal. Like, it hits 10 and you're like, wow, like, my week is saved. Type of deal.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I really am surprised that he's projected for 10.3. I'm going to go Travis Etienne also. He was a third-round draft pick for the Whopper Moppers. In the last 3 weeks that he was healthy, negative 0.1, 5.0, and 5.3. That's your third-round draft pick right there. It's not good in a bad situation in Jacksonville. So hopefully better things are ahead for Whopper Moppers. Let's go to the next team up as we start to head into our upper shelf of teams in the standings. We're going to go to the Soarin Eagles. And Jordan, this is hard, tough love for your own roster, but we're going to start with you. Who's on that roster that you wish wasn't?
Baltimore defense. Drafted the Baltimore defense so I wouldn't have to stream, and God, they suck this year.
That's your 24th ranked D in fantasy football. They're averaging 3.8 points per game. Well, who doesn't make the cut on this?
I mean, he makes a good argument, but D's are D's. Who cares? I mean, what's Jalen Warren still doing there? I mean, he's a farce. He's averaging 6.2 points a game.
Better than anybody else in the league.
He's got to go. He's got to go. Pick another D. Why not?
Christian, who gets axed on this roster?
So, you picked up Judy today, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say Josh Downs. And the big caveat is I think with Joe Flacco, he's a playable player.
Yeah.
With Richardson, he's unplayable because Richardson, you might get that big game with that bomb. Richardson throws like 6 times a game. I just think everyone in the Indy passing game is just unplayable at this point. They're Downs after these developments with Richardson coming back.
All right, I'm going to go, because I've had this player, I had Jerry Jeudy, I cut him, and I cut him again. 50th ranked wide receiver, and I truly don't know how he got that high. And so he goes for me. Well, let's look at your roster. Born to Run. 5-5, looking for a spark. Anyone in your starting lineup or on your bench? Or on your injured reserve that you would like to go?
Oh, well. I've been waiting for this guy to come off. Brooks, I keep holding on to him. It's like luggage, old luggage. You know how you never throw it away, you keep it.
You got him 2 weeks ago from me. Get out of here.
Still
Hold on to him.
But I don't know. I guess Leggett, I've had him on and off. He's probably the guy. I don't know why I keep thinking I'm never going to start him. I don't know why I keep picking him up. So I guess that's who I'm picking.
All right, Christian?
I go Richardson even though he just picked him up today.
You can't count that one.
Okay, fine.
The ink is barely dry on the contract.
But then I'll have to go with Leggett as well. Like,
Yeah.
the rest of your team. Or maybe like a starter would be Devonta Smith, but Leggett is worse than Smith. So
Yeah, for sure.
Sure. Jordan?
Underestimated. I think you should have started Robinson this week. I think, Estimate got 14 carries last week, and I got 5 points out of it. Denver is just going to keep going back and forth. Bo Nix is doing well throwing the ball. I don't know how he's going to do it.
You and me both. So I will say this.
It's a mystery.
The last 3-4 weeks, I've not been great at picking the right combination. So you could be very much correct on that.
Is estimate right back to the waiver wire after you plug him in this league?
No, because like Jordan said, you got to fill a spot. So, I mean, he's good as anybody else left.
Him or Jalen Warren.
Right. Yeah, we'll trade him.
Right. Yeah, that's the kind of trade that we're going to get moving forward, I feel. So let's look at, Christian, your team, no lineup needed. To take a hard, critical look at your lineup and let me know, is there anyone that you press the drop button for?
I have a couple, actually.
All right.
So with the estimate stuff, Javonte is on the block. Obviously, he's going to get like 3 receptions, and that's his entire value. But for people who've had the entire season, Waddle, that offense, even if it looks better, is so bad. And Waddle had a great first quarter last week, and then nothing. So and plus, like with the rest of he's never playing with the rest of my players. So Waddle is definitely the dude that's going for me.
All right. Walt, who gets cut?
Yeah, I mean, you would say Algier, Cora, but those are handcuffs, so you got to have them. That makes sense to me. Boy, I mean, you really only wanted Williams for one, week, so it's hard to say. He's garbage. But I don't know. I'm with you on Waddle. He's ranked 62nd. Another guy. So I'm going to go Waddle, too, because to follow my trend, here's a guy you'd say, oh, I should start him, and then you start him, and he screws you, and you're like,
took him in the 4th round.
those are the worst. Those are the worst.
I was like, wow, that's such a good value.
Yeah, I no doubt.
And it's just like horrible.
So I agree. I'll
You
go
didn't
Waddle.
take Michael Pittman Jr. in the second round. Jordan, who gets cut from this one?
Yeah, not to be boring, but it's Waddle. One of the most underperforming players in the entire year from this draft.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I have to agree, and I'm going to go Waddle too. It's hard to tell in an entire team full of disappointments that the Finns' offense between Tyreek, who's just been a heartbreaker as a #1 draft pick, and then Waddle, who I'm sure went in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round in every draft across the nation. He's pulling in at the 62nd rank.
I picked up Quentin Johnson today because of trading JSN and be the wide receiver next week.
Yeah.
I'm more confident in a dude that in his rookie year had butterfingers than Waddle is the rookie.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
As well you should be. And so let's take a look at Huey Lewis and the News roster.
There's not a lot of players.
I mean, so I was going to say that. I like everybody because he's got 4 holes on his bench. It's tough to pick somebody.
The roster management is just legendary with Huey Lewis and the News, and he does things that make us scratch our heads, and yet he's tied for first place, and we are not. And so, Christian, I'll start with you on this one. Who gets cut from this?
Is easy for me, and it's going to be a pain for Connor to hear this. Deontay Johnson. He's easily the worst player on this roster. Maybe the next one will be Rico Dowdle. But I think Shakir's looked great in Baltimore, or in Buffalo. And the rest of his team's good. So it's Deontay Johnson by a country mile for me.
Gotcha, Walt.
I mean, again, I give him a lot of credit. He goes with the Henry Thoreau simplify, doesn't want clutter on his bench. But so because there's, Rico Downs now the #1. They said no more running back by committee. Pitts, I don't love him. Shakir, he's been kind of in and out a little. But, yeah, I got to say Deontay. That's a guy I don't want.
He was good for
never start him.
the season.
Yeah, but right now no one's starting him or whatever.
Yeah,
so
right.
I say it is Deontay.
Jordan.
For sake of originality, I'll go Dowdle just because Cooper Rush started. Big boxes are going to be stacked against him, and it's not like he was showing much earlier this season.
The thing with Dowdle for me is he's also starting 3 RBs, right? So Dowdle can never play with Eckler,
That's true.
Saquon, and Kamara, and I think Shakir would probably go in before Dowdle.
I would think
And
so.
so, it just kind of, it's nice to have or a potential trade piece, but it's kind of like an empty spot there.
Yeah, and how many games is Dallas going to be in front, and where they're not coming from behind? So, It's not looking good.
Yeah, for me, Deontay Johnson, I just don't see the potential moving forward for a whole lot of growth.
Right.
That player, he's been regressing, and he's going to continue to
Yep.
regress.
Agreed.
That leaves us with one team left to cut a player, and it is our highest scoring team, Boston Beans, #1 team, who's on a great winning streak and maybe starting another, putting up points in bunches. Jordan, we'll start with you. Who gets cut from this roster?
I'm going to get Dalton Schultz off the team. 24th ranked tight end.
He's
not
averaging
24
six.
tight end.
He's his blocking. It's his blocking tight end. See,
He does love to play defense.
Right.
I think Dalton Schultz was clocked as the slowest offensive player in the NFL this year.
That's
So, like, I don't think he really has any usage whatsoever.
He has 0 games in double digits this year.
And he's like
2 with 9 points.
in a great passing offense. This dude, like, actually just can't get it done.
Yeah.
Well, who gets cut?
So I'm gonna break Tony's heart. But the guy threw an interception. He was gonna tackle a guy with his head. Tua is gotta go. You cannot keep him on your roster because he's gonna be. Tony will go visit him at a home and feed him water through a tube because that's what's gonna happen to him. I cut him because you can't put him in the game. The guy's trying to tackle people with his head.
It's so crazy.
So Tua's the guy I'm letting go.
It's so crazy. Christian?
So, I'm going to go with Dalton Schultz, but I think Tua, we should actually give Tony an honorary IR spot.
Yeah.
Just for Tua. And that's the only player that can enter it
I like that. Ceremonial IR spot.
Regardless of his status, you can put him there. And so I think that'd be a nice thing to do just for old time's sake.
I'm gonna say Michael Pittman Jr., who's on his IR. He must have scooped him up recently. I cut him. He was my second round draft pick. He's listed as averaging 8.8, and I just don't know how that's possible.
I think they're activating him this week.
Yeah, that's great.
But again, Richardson, the quarterback.
Yeah,
Do you want that piece of
That's
that?
a
I
big
don't know
zero.
about. Yeah.
Like, what a regression from last
Yeah.
year. He was, to me, Christian, he was a hero for you last year.
Yeah.
And I got him like the 6th or 7th round,
Yeah.
and he was looking good with whoever was taking the ball.
I mean, if Flacco's playing, maybe that's not a bad.
So he had a couple of good weeks with Flacco, and then he started to play poorly even with Flacco, and that's when I just
Yeah.
put a red
Yep.
flag.
And he got paid last year, or this
Yes.
year,
Yep.
or something like that. So it's
Yep.
like,
He sure
Never helps sometimes.
he's a mess.
It's not great. And so that is who would you not want on your roster from another team. Get to throw some shade. That's a fun bit. I like it. And that is what we got for the week, gentlemen.
Great
anything
week.
for the good of your. Good of the
Yeah, that's a good week. I mean, we both Survivor Pool members survived.
That's right. We didn't talk about Bar Survivor.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me. So
No.
we have 2 teams left. It's Worst Team Ever and
Whopper
Whopper
Mopper.
Moppers.
So one of them's going to be a first-time winner at something, which is amazing, right?
Yeah, they
good for them.
They picked the rifle last week, and the rifle pulled it out, and so they both get to pick again.
Yeah,
keep this going.
and let's see. I already forgot. Let's see. One of them picked Sodi. Let's see. The Moppers picked themselves. And interesting, you gotta love worst team ever. Playing Sodi, they picked Sodi for the Survivor Pool.
No.
How wrong is that?
No.
How wrong is
But
that?
see that all
The
the
attitude.
all the
It's
attitude
just-
improvements we talked about out the window.
Out the window.
Out the
You know what?
window.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
wild.
I have to agree.
I feel like the only time you do that is if it's the last person left and you happen to play in that league and you
Yeah.
have to choose it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we're going to be taking a hard look at roster decisions made by Worst Team Ever this week to make sure that there's not a little bit of self-collusion going on.
Yeah, he drops all the his since he's on the bench this week.
I might put his winnings on hold until further
That's right.
investigation.
You may have to take a peek at this.
Yeah, that's just wrong. So wrong.
All right, so thanks to Christian for providing us very comfortable digs. I
Yeah.
can't remember the last time that I did a pod leaning back and just enjoying the situation. So thank you for
No
having us.
problem. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
This is going to be one of the final weeks where, we just we drove Soarin across the nation. We had everyone in the same time zone for roughly 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And now Christian will be an hour behind in a couple weeks. And so, whenever you're back in the area,
Definitely.
always welcome.
Hey, and if the podcast wants to make a road trip, I'll set up some room in Chicago.
I
We can-
am not opposed to a Chicago pod.
Yeah, one day on the beach in Pensacola, and
Yeah.
maybe we shoot out
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
the.
we can catch the shitty Bears. playing
Yeah,
the shitty football
yeah.
team or
I
something.
I love it.
I told Mrs. Commish that I am not opposed to day tripping for a pod at Pensacola or Chicago. She
Yeah.
thinks I'm completely insane, but it's fine. Walt, anything for,
No.
for the week?
No, good luck to everyone. I anticipate next week we're going to talk about a big log jam in the standing. I see it.
Glut.
I see
Time
it
for
happening.
playoff implications.
100%.
Jordan, it's great to have you back in this time zone, and great
Yeah.
to be able to just pick you up on the pike and bring you in for a little pod on the road. Thanks
Great
for
to
coming
be
in.
here, always.
All right, that's our show for the week. Good luck to all, everyone.
Good luck, everyone.